Welcome everyone. It's so nice to see so much face in this room. So it's nice that you are participating in this talk. We are going live as well. So we are going to record this talk and put it in our website. So you can watch it again if you want to, otherwise share it around. So I want to welcome as well for those who are participating online. We are going to give a talk about our project in English. Before we started, I want to share that I'm going to start to give a talk from museum perspective, but also introduction the project. After me, Sofie Amondsen will go on talking about her perspective in this project, and we will have a short break after that. And our Julie Bach as well will give a talk as the last one. But let me start to give a presentation. Recording including my face here, the sound as well. But those who are watching online can only see me and the presentation. So you can move around if you want to, or pick your nose or something. So don't be scared. Let's start. The project, Puggut Talk, breathing membranes. It's about gut processing methods and innovation. We started in 2024 and going to end it tomorrow. We have a special exhibition in the further room that some of you visit. So if you have not visited the room in there, you are more than welcome to go and see it. The last day will be tomorrow. And after that, we are going to pack it down. So that's why we're going to end this project tomorrow. We have been explored this gut skin in Galashlitnunat, particularly in this land. The project was created by seamstress Sofie Amondsen, textile artist Julie Bach, and this institution, Greenland National Museum. It was really close collaboration that we are really, really happy for. And it have given us this bridge between traditional craftsmanship and in gut skin and contemporary interpretation that I will show you later on. We have always have this root in gut as a material. The project has combined craft and artistic practice with sharing of this cultural heritage that we are connected in this land. And dried intestine is a remarkable material. It's really, really light. It's breathable and waterproof if you are processing it right or in that purpose. And overall, this project has culminated in a knowledge gathering workshop a year ago, with close collaboration with the workshop Gittet across from this road. We have a petitioner here as well. We created a tutorial video at that workshop as well that are online. A really, really short tutorial that shows step by step how to all the process to build that material that are suitable for craft. We have the special exhibition that I mentioned. It's further in. It had been going since October last year. And we have an online booklet as well that tells about this project, but also, again, a tutorial, step-by-step processing. It's already available online in our website, so be free to download it down if you want to. That will make us happy to try it yourself. It will give you a lot of learning or touching it as well, so that will make us happy. We have held a local workshop, and with that, a short exhibition at the Culture House in Ketua. For us, it is important to learn about the gut processing, the material itself, how it is handled. For the first, also the techniques behind it, all the techniques that are involved to create that craft material that you can use. Because here at the museum, we have a collection of gut skin. That was that important for us to learn it, have a whole story behind it when we are presenting it further. So, but also at the beginning, we have always have this in mind that we need to inspire people, inspire working with the animal gut, to make it accessible for all as well, because by doing that, they will help us to prevent the slow disappearance of this traditional Inkalaallit. The project unfolds through experimental task. It has been encouraged that both expansion of knowledge, but also hands-on exploration to learn it by yourself, holding it. It gives you a lot of more learning versus if you're reading it. So it have give us a lot of knowledge to have it in our hands. So we have explored methods in cleaning, drying, splitting, and sieving the gut. All this process has created a collaboration with other cultural practitioners as well. Again, and it can further foster a preservation for the next generation, or also have a space for renewal. It is important to it can breathe out or live further. And I want to share a historical background. So historical evidence shows that Kalaallit Inuit has long produced objects with animal gut. As I mentioned, that we have a collection here at the museum that shows that they have been using this gut material, including seal, walrus, whales, and polar bear intestines. So there are variation of species. So they have been shredding, shape it, sieve it in wide range of purpose. So if you go further in our exhibition room, you will find a bag, for example. You will find an kapisit, for example, that will be used in rainy day. So it's a whole range of purpose that you can create with that material. One of the example is a gut window. So before all these classes came to this land, our ancestors have been using gut as a windows in turf houses. As you can see in this photo, I will point it out. There are 3 gut windows here in this photo. They are quite large. The color are also different. I will come back to that later. But if you really close looking at the photo, you will see a point as well. There are some small holes that you can look out when you're in. But the skin itself, it will protect you against the weather, but give you a lot of light in because it is so light if you put it out. So it will give you a lot of light inside. Other things I can mention that gut has been used it for tent covers. For our ancestors live in turf houses in winter time, and at summer times they will live in tents, and they will also use that procedure, have a cover inside. But also the bags I mentioned, waterproof clothing as a kapisit, gut parka, but also for ceremonial object like drum skin, as you can see in this photo. It's covered with gut, the skin, and it gives you another sound. So if you are playing with a drum, you will see the differences in variation of the sound. Depend on the skin, depend on the frame, what material it is. So I will assume this is really, really light sound it will give because it's so thin as a material. 100 years ago, making these items that I have been mentioned, it's slowly like in deadline. It became evident after a survey carried out in certain places in Galashinunaid, 1948-9. Here in the survey, they concluded that all these imported goods in the colonial trade past have given them another material to build with or created as class, right? So they have been having this new material in, and slowly they're going, switch it in that front. I have put this slide to remind that our ancestors, it have been essential to know the skills behind how to sieve each skin to survive in the Arctic. The change of weather, it always coming, right? So you need to know which kind of skin you need to prepare for winter or autumn, so on, for seasonal. And they have been giving this knowledge orally by teaching, demonstrating, and not reading it down. So it has been a learning as well. And skin were carefully prepared, for clothing, but also functional objects. Each has adapted a specific use, as I mentioned, but tanning was never considered finished when you're finishing a product, an item, because leather also got require ongoingly care as long you are using it. So it always needs to be sieved again or put in soak or further care. That's why it's, as you can see in the picture, already used chemic, already finished, but she's sieving it still because it's still been using it. And you need to make sure there's no hole also. And got working in particular, it is a really high developed craft that we have been learning a lot of. If you prepare purple, right, it will make a really, really light in weight, but also flexible and waterproof. So it's really, really, rooted in to learn it. I will go back to that because we learned it in a gathering workshop, sharing gathering workshop. For us today, in our generation, we know it more in the food area because we eat it as alongside with the traditional food. We cook it as a raw, right? Cook it, don't scrap it any layers. Clean it, everything nicely, cook it with meat, for example, or eat it cooked with the blubber, as you can see it in this photo. This is taken in our workshop as well. It was our lunch one of the days, so we eating it as well. Yeah. So I have been telling this before, but our ancestors gained the knowledge to the next generation by demonstrating how it should be. So our ancestors with the food, as for example, they have been showing us how to prepare it for food. The same goes we're preparing for the craft because it's not the same. There are some steps that you need to do before you can create this material to the suitable for craft object. And over the past 200, 300 years, There have been written description about this also by explorers, but also colonial officers that have give us information back. But from the last 100 years in particular, Galashit themselves have also created this knowledge that have given us that we can work with from documentations, but also photos, for example, but also interviews that have been held. All that information, we had it with us when we start that workshop, sharing knowledge workshop. So it was a close collaboration, as I mentioned, with Gitten last year. Here we combine hands-on craft work and share our expertise, our individual expertise. From the museum perspective, we show our collection. We show how they're received, make it accessible really close and not in the class on the monitor, but show it so they have this quite close to analyze it. Also ahead of the workshop, we have conducted, especially Sofie, a lot of tests with the gut here in bearded seal. And for Julie, she will also mention it in her presentation, she is already working with pig gut, also with seal. So we have our expertise, but also Gitten. They shared a lot of information about these traditional sieving techniques. They have not worked with gut before. They have been working with the skin from seal, for example. The outer layer is quite thicker than the gut. So it was also new for them to learn. So it was really nice experience to learn it in same level, right? Also, you have these techniques. The techniques has each terminology. They has each names that you shared that have given us knowledge as well. Also, coloring skin. It was quite new. I said it was experimental processing. So we experimental also colored gut skin in washing machine. So you can manage. We took it as a step-by-step learning, give us a time to learn, talk about it, make a space for learning, but also experiment, renew, as I mentioned, coloring the gut. Total, we have been working with bearded seal, harp seal, blue side seal, and pig in that workshop. Here we have made a focus on combine this thickness and strain about these species, right? But also the layer of the membrane to learn it. We have been experimented in trying coloring, as I already mentioned. Also the stitching, the sieving behind it. As a new thing, also we have machine dried. So we have been using a container, a freezing container, to make it to see the outcomes of it, because that will always also change the material or the layer. Depends on how it dry, in what kind of temperature. So we have been using that freezer to see the color, what it would give us. Also outdoor air. It was February last year, so it was the same weather for today ish. It's a little bit warmer this year. But I hear that it will get colder next week, so that will be good for all the skins outside. But we also hang it inside to this indoor warm to see the results. After that, we have been cutting it. Also to see the photo I mentioned, all photo, they have been using scissors as well. So we have been using that also. And here we can see there are differences how you're cutting it. Because intestine, a gut, is it a muscle as well? There's some muscle in it. If you are cutting it with the muscle, you will give another shape. But if you cut it in the opposite way, it will give you another shape as well. So that we have been learning. And we can consider this workshop as a really, really highly rewarded because we learn a lot. And we can see further in the society that everyone also, not everyone, but there are some that are using it. So we are really happy. The workshop gave you also a material to the exhibition that we are having here. From the museum, we can now tell more about the photo, for example. I gave it this example because by things we have been learning, now I can tell you, if you come look closer, you can see that gut cover that I mentioned, intent. But there's variation in the color, right? Because it mixed with winter dye and summer dye. So it's a seasonal that collected material that they have been sieving. That we can tell about. Also, if you visited the exhibition, you will see a small window, exact, how do you call it? Changing its shapes. Before the workshop, I couldn't tell about it. I didn't know about it. So it is really nice. What we learned as well, a new gut, if you hunt it with a seal, new gut, how it are. But if you look really, really close, you will see there's layers. If you cut it, you will see there are 3 layers. And you need to scrap it, the top layer and inner layer. Only the middle that is been used for craft. But if you want to eat it, you need to use all of it. What we learn as well, there are already drawings from 1935 by Jens Rosing. This kapisit parkas are exhibit right now. In this drawing, we cannot see the stitches, right? But we have been analyze it and see what kind of techniques they've been using. So there are 2 techniques that have been using it here. Tina will show you. So she will come in. And we have a really helper to illustrate these, because how should we present it with no illustration? This helped us with a talented Marta Maria that have been drawing this illustration that we can further show around. I know the time is quite bigger, but yeah. But that kapisit, we learn, okay, they have been constructed, the rain parka, but after they've been finishing it, they have putting a new lines. As you can see. So they have already created it, finished it, right? But they have made a space for putting decorations. It's not only decorations. Our ancestors believe that you are living with souls around you. The same goes for the animal souls. If you have a respect, you can borrow the animal souls with you. And here in that description of Jens Rosing, he described it is from a polar bear bones. So how polar bears' bones are constructed is showing here. Face. If you visit that kapisit, you will further see there's an arm and legs. So our ancestors usually borrow some spirit when they are maybe hunting, give it more strength as an amulet, but also protections. Polar bear in particular is a really strong animal to have it as an amulet. We can see in decorations, in cars, back to 500 before, that they always had been this particular symbols, both in the tools but also in the clothings. Quickly, one of the outcomes of this project is that we created the booklet I mentioned, the presentation around articles and craft and artwork have been produced, exhibition, a local and festival activities. Here you can see Gittet. They joined in Fjord Festival, Puggut Festival, and show it and allowed people to try it as well. And that's why they have been like giving the knowledge again to the people that want to learn it. And local workshop I mentioned, it was a collaboration with Inuit. It was 4 evenings. Yeah, with total 25 participants that learned the skills to produce. All the participants create their own craft that were exhibit in Culture House. The booklet is just one of the methods that we have been learning that we are presenting in that booklet. It's in English and Galashish Greenlandic. Photo from the workshop. There are a lot of participants. And here you work with the novel gut and pig as well. Each one, Sofie and Julia, will talk about their craft and artwork production and the ongoing time that have been using there, right? But we are really happy that we could connect this older, our ancestors' object with new talented also in craftsmanship, but also in art world, that they can further be this bridge. Before I give it to Sofie, I really want to thank all the sponsors and partners that have been helping us here to create this project. So I want to thank NAPA og Johanne Louis Jensens Fund in Denmark, Puggut Fonden in Denmark, Tips og Lotto midler here in Government of Greenland, Nuna Fonden from here, Statens Kunstfond for allowed some time to work with the production of it, artwork. The same goes for Statens Værksted to allow a workshop to take place because you need a space to do it as well. Sommerpuljen here also allowed this to give us a talk as well, to share it out. Gitte for very close collaboration to learn it together. Inuit to make the available to us to hold the workshop, to local workshop. And Gedua, the culture house, to allow us to exhibit the craft as well. So, and Aarhus Kommune. So there are a lot of sponsors that have been collecting or helping us to make it realistic. Yeah. So thank you. I will give the talk further. Yeah. Before I giving it, is there any questions that you want to ask? The same goes for the online participant. If you have any questions, please put it in the chat. We can see it and we can answer it. Here in this room, do you have any questions about this introduction? Doesn't seem right. Okay. How about in the online? Nothing. So that's good sign, I hope. But I will prepare another talk because this. Sofie will present her own aspect of it. She have been created 2 crafts that are exhibited there, Borg and Ramasorta. You can easily see it closely also analyzed the techniques that she had been using. The material is bearded seal. She has also been using a draw skin as a thread. So she have been conducting a lot of information to create that. But she will give you introduction about it. You have any questions? Yeah. Yeah, so we have been analyzing the materials, the items here. So the question was, have we further looked at our kapisit gut packet that we are exhibited more closely to see the foldings, because we have been talking about it, how the foldings are for the sieving. So make it more waterproof parka, right? So no, not yet, but there's some space to do it and time also. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So my English is not going to be perfect, but I will try. Yeah, as Vanti said, I'm going to do the presentation from my perspective. And yeah, so where do I start? For me, I've been doing the research and in different places too, through my own work. And yeah, in here I want to show the picture. The first picture is like Canadian Inuit, Alaskan, Aleut, and Greenlanders and Norwegian hunter. So yeah, I've been in Norway, Denmark, Nunavut, and Alaska to collect the knowledge about gut skin. Yeah. So first I'm gonna go into my research and the booklet that me and Ranti made, and at the last what I made from the gut skin. Yeah, I'm a bit. Yeah, what I wanted to show through my research. So I met a lot of people who have the same interest. I also want to mention that I just started as a self-employed seamstress. So this is my first big project that's been from 2024. I know, yeah, it must be, yeah, until to this day. And so I met a lot of people who have the same interest. Yeah, so I can show this books later, who's been writing about how to do the skin and leather, and who have the same different kind of knowledge. And yeah. So also for the first, while we Julia and Ranti planning to do the project, I was in Nunavut, and in Nunavut there's a presentation about netzer. It's a seal, and in that presentation, I asked if they know something about this gut skin, and because I went to the museum in Inuit, so they don't have a gut skin collection, or yeah. So But I asked, and some of the who do the presentation said that she remembers that her family or grandparents or parents did the bearded seal in Tisden. So I also want to mention in Arctic way, Greenlandic way, or Inuit way, it's always like when you give the knowledge to the next generations, it's through speaking, it's through showing, it's through showing and talking. We don't really do the script or notes, or it's very not Inuit way. So that was also the ones I felt or see. And that's what I got from Nunavut. So I was also in Alaska. So I find out they also did a similar project with this project, like Gutskin project. So they have book about it, and it was so I don't know, strange to see. Okay, some in the Arctic, all the way from Alaska, they do like kind of the same project. So what I learned there, it's I'm gonna show you in the next. But here you can see in the picture, it's also a gut. It can be hard, like similar material here that they also do the embroidery. So that's a new thing for me to see, because I never seen that here. And I was also in the National Museum, and I saw windows that I haven't seen here in Nuuk. So and in Husvärdseminar, it's like the crafters I met who do the same handcrafting. And so my my research, I've been collecting from these books, and what I got it from the books and meeting with other people, I got the knowledge about, okay, what kind of seal do they use? All the way from Alaska to Nunavut, Iqaluit, only by talking, I keep hearing, okay, bearded seal, that they used to use bearded seal. And from Alaskan to Greenlandic way, the stitches that we use, it's different. So that I found out also Greenlandic way is overcast stitches and running stitches. So that's very valuable for me to get the details. And what I also understand, kapisit, the gut parka, is the difference. How Alaskan made the gut parka, it's like sideways this way, and Greenlandic way is like this way. So the pattern making is also different. So we have our own Greenlandic way how to do a gut parka. So, I'm so excited at the same time. So I'm gonna go to booklet now that me and Ranti made, and sure.
There is any reason to have this difference between the way that the horizontal and vertical? There is a specific reason to this?
I can only guess that how they thinking of way, like if you're gonna move and the material is very like thin and like I can imagine that you have to kind of be careful how to use it. So the pattern way, thinking way is just different, like from all the way to Alaska to Greenlandic. So yeah, I don't know. I can only guess how to use it in every day. I don't know. Yeah.
To that.
Yeah.
Going to the microphone here. Also, this gut packers mostly use when you're sailing in kayaking. The same with canoeing, right? So it's also different in types of kayaks. It's different types in Galashinat here. The same in the Alaska. So also how you move, it will connect that. Yeah. So.
And as I understand, is mostly men have the gut packers because it's the men who go out hunting in the different type of weather. So as I learned, so it's mostly men who have it, but also the kids and the women, of course. Yeah. So for me, when I started to do the sewing, traditional clothing, so the seal is just seal. There's no different type of seal. So, but when I learned how to do the different parts in our traditional clothing, so there's different types of seal. So, as also Randi mentioned, we tried different kinds of seal. And in Greenlandic words, there's many different words. Like in Greenlandic words, we have kind of more names than just from this picture. And yeah, what we tried on, it's all the way from the Grönland seal, Greenlandic seal, and yeah. And I was also lucky to do the kapisit. We cannot hunt harbor seal here in Greenland, but I got to try it in Norway. So, and usuk and Greenlandic seal. So, Greenlandic seal, harbor seal, and bearded seal. We got to try, and so, but a bearded seal for me, it's been hard to get that like from the hunters because no one really hunts that anymore in this area. But still, up in the north, they have a lot of bearded seal. So yeah, so I got the bearded seal. I found out that the bearded seal, it's more tough, more thick, and yeah. Yeah, I just want to mention here that in the booklet you can read about the history about the gut that Randi shared and knowledge sharing. Me, all of us, and Gittet and terminology about the words, what kind of words in Greenlandic we use, because it's still new for me to learn the Greenlandic words, even I'm Greenlander. So yeah, that's a lot of research. So yeah, again in the booklet we tried the different kinds of seals, intestines, like our guts, and we tried to color dye and drying process, and we can also even paint. That's from the mostly from Julia part. Yeah, we felt like a little kids that's exploring something new, or yeah. Yeah. So in the booklets, I want to mention that okay, when I did the doing the intestine myself, like touching and feel the difference and trying them and try to sew them. What I learned is what kind of seal to use. It's a bearded seal, as I heard and I saw the difference, like myself, by doing it self. Yeah. So what I want to recommend, if you want to do intestine project, so bearded seal is more tough and more usable. And yeah. And in the terminology, there's a lot of new words for me too in Greenlandic. For example, ria. And in the booklet, you can see how to do it yourself and what are the words. Greenlandic words. What I want to mention. Okay, let me see. And again, when I tested out how to do this sewing part, so I used the running stitches. It's Greenlandic way, and running stitches, for the classical avitat part, skin embroidery part, and for the basket, for the gut skin, I used the overcast stitches. So it's so I try to make Greenlandic most as possible. So yeah. But yeah, in the sewing part, I also find out that if you want to sew it, it have to be like almost dry and almost wet. So it have to be in between. But I also tested out while sewing to put the blubber, the oil, to put oil on. But yeah, that's one of the testing part I did. Yeah.
So you don't know.
With the fat on or blubber on, it's more smelly. I don't know if it's durable, but if I see the exhibition from this National Museum, but I cannot see it's oily. I cannot see them as oily. So I'm still wondering if it's better or not, because it's not visible from the all items. So I'm not sure, 100% sure if they use the blubber while sewing. Yeah. So, because if you see the national or the museum's items, they're so clean. So I'm still wondering how. Yeah. So what I made to this exhibition, it's ork, the biggest one that I can make, because it's been to get the bearded seal intestine. It's been so hard for me. So what I did here, I got it from Iqaluit, Nunavut, our neighbor from Nunavut, and one from East Greenland and one from Maniitsoq area, the next town from here. No, so it's been hard to get the bearded seal intestine for me, but still I got to make a pork because I've been thinking about, okay, what do I make? Because when we do did the planning to do this project, and I have to think about, okay, what do I want to make? I've been thinking about bigger things like kapisit, maybe for kids, like the gut parka. But after that, I collected the intestines, so it's not much I had. So okay, I have to make a smaller one. So that's why I made the basket, and of course I've been thinking about why basket. And for nowadays, you see a lot of Greenlanders who do the knitting. Knitting. We like knitting, and so it's for the it's basket for the yarns. Yeah, and as a second, I made the ramasortak. It's a light cover, and you can see that after this talk, it's in the exhibition. And ramasortak, as we saw, that Randi showed, that they used to use it as a light, so the light can come in. But this way, it's playing with the light, so you can see the intestine look. And earrings, as you can see here, I like them very, very much. It's very light. And there's some earrings that you can buy here and also in art museum. So I just sold 2 parts. Yeah. So here I want to show that, okay, what can we use it for every day, not just as a museum items or collection. So I try to do it to make something, okay, what can we use it today? So so these are like for everyday use. And I know that back then they use it also for everyday use. And they can make it like, I don't know what to say. So yeah, so that's, my time is running, so that's it. What I can talk about. But again, thanks for the funds, and asking me, Julie Bach and Randi, if I can join this project. And Randi and Aviaya, get that, and of course the hunters. So if there's no hunters, I couldn't be able to make something out of it. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, any questions? Yeah. Yeah, and the way I can also tell the in the way, because I said I get that the intestine, I got it from Iqaluit, Nunavut, and from Manitok area. And my father has been cleaning the freezer, and he threw it out because he didn't know what it was. And I was like, no. So I wake up in the morning, and he said he cleaned. And I was like, no, I don't have nothing in the freezer. But the day after, I was like, oh, the intestine. And I ran to the container, garbage container to get the intestine. So it's been a long process to make these and these. So yeah, that's it. So yeah, thank you, and thanks for coming. Yeah.
Yeah, hello. here in the room and online. I will be explaining a little bit about my way into working with gut, with intestines. My name is Julie Bach, and I'm a Danish textile artist. I'm based in Aarhus. And here at the exhibition, I present sculptural work made primarily of pig intestine, but also of vintage clothes and of seal fur. The way I work with the materials usually is that I'm always inspired by how to make three-dimensional shapes out of materials. So I usually work with skins and textiles. So I'm trained as a fashion designer. And yeah, that's my background. And the expression I work with, it's usually very abstract. So my contribution to the project are these abstract installation objects. My primary method of working is sewing, and I see sewing as a way of creating connection. It can both be to the material I'm working with, but also to other people's sewing. And I feel the connection also throughout times of women primarily have been sewing for thousands of years. So working with these crafts, working with these materials, I feel a connection to something larger than myself. I was made here in Nuuk many years ago, and that is also my connection to, that's my connection to Greenland, and my way into making this project, because I feel a connection to the land and to the people. And we lived here from when I was a small child, so my first impressions was from this place. That also inspires me. And when my father died in 2014, I had the urge of coming here again. And my way into investigating this connection is through the craft of sewing. So I have been doing different research travels here over the years. I've been at Kitbat, the skin sewing studio that we have been collaborating with. I've been there 4 weeks, and I've been at the school where you make national costumes, and in Ilulissat, artist in residence. And I've been visiting this specific museum where you can see all the wonderful costume. And that's something that really inspires me. The beautiful crafted costumes here in the country. And both in Copenhagen and also here in Greenland, I saw this kapisit, which I found out later is the Greenlandic word, the gut parka. And I was so puzzled about what is it? What is the material? How do you work with it? And on these different environments where I've been asking around to see if people knew something, and I didn't really find any answers. It was only later that I found out that also animated Olsvig, the leader of Inuit Museum, had also been working with this specific material, doing research on it. But at this point, here we are in 2019, I knew nothing. Here I'm at an artist in residence stay in the north of Norway, and here I had my first encounter with this fascinating material of goat skin. So a seal got shot, and I asked for the guts, and this was a way into starting to try to kind of learning by doing, doing some research on, trying how to cleanse it, scrape it, and to dry it. So I did it learning by doing together with a woman from South America. And we had found videos on YouTube from the Smithsonian Institute in Alaska. Here they share videos on sewing goat. And here you can see like this old Inuit tradition on how to prepare the material for crafts. So this was my background for reaching out to Randi Sørensen Johansen, here museum inspector at the Greenland National Museum, to ask, should we do something on the material? Should we do like an exhibition with the focus on the material goat skin? And luckily, Randi said yes, and we set up a really strong team of people to work together on this project, because we were very focused on that this was a project where we would like to anchor the knowledge in the society. We really wanted to engage with the society, get people involved. And here are some pictures from a workshop we did when the exhibition opened. So here we are with 16 meters of narwhal goat that the participants from Nuuk, the citizens, were in this process of cleaning and scraping and drying in different ways. So as a result of processing these materials, they also had their own exhibition in the culture house, Gatwak. And to the picture at the left, you can see the material of pig goat, which has been dyed. And one of the participants was making a story about the sun and the moon. And to the right, you see the material of narwhal goat, where it's being used for sculptural purposes. So we really wanted to make this exhibition where you could have like different angles on telling this story about the goat skin. We wanted to both share like the traditional knowledge, but we also wanted to inspire to how could you use this in new ways? Wanted to inspire people to maybe beginning to work with this cultural heritage again, to make it alive again, since it was somewhat forgotten. So I have a studio in Aarhus in Denmark, and here are some images from a process of drying 100 meters of pig goat skin. It was a process of before creating the works that I show in the exhibition. So I'm fascinated about this material in many ways. One of the things that really fascinates me is this transformation it goes through. You can stand with this very moist, a little bit smelly, wet, damp material, and then you inflate it, you dry it, and it becomes this poetic, light, spherical material. And when the light shines through it, you can see all these traces of, what can you say, its past life, where it was stuck inside the belly. But all these traces, they, yeah, you can see them clear. They come alive in the light. When I work with sculptural work, it's yeah, but this fascination from the god skin, it's this this presence of both the, what can you say, the physical and the spherical, the corporal, the energetic, these two subjects or presences together at one time is what I'm always a little bit fascinated about when I make my works. And in the installation that I present here at Greenland National Museum, I show this installation called My Mother's Hands. And it contains these two aspects. So we have in the room, we have these two light objects hanging. You can move around them. They're light. But then there's also a sound piece that goes along with this this installation. And here you can hear, yeah, some of the other stories of the god. Here you can hear some recordings from when I was emptying the seal god with my mother, with a woman called Hanne Holm in Ilulissat. So we have this quite very physical, smelly, quite disgusting process of the emptying of the hands on the work, alongside with that you can experience the dried intestines. For me, when I see the intestines, and with the light coming through and everything, for me it's like an image of this energy, this vibrant energy that can occur between people. I also have a poem in the sound piece, and it's about hands. The work is also called My Mother's Hands. It's about it's about mirroring myself in the skin of my mother, like watching how time draws lines on the skin. This piece is called Where It All Began. So my life began here. It's the shape of a spiral. It's from the materials of seal fur and of the gut from the pig. And the material here we have prepared together 1 year ago at the knowledge sharing workshop. So here we experimented with dyeing the gut. We put it in the washing machine with textile dye, and it worked quite amazingly. It really took on color. And this specific intestine, it's dyed, it's put out in frost, so it's it gets this very whitish color. of being, freeze dried, dyed and dried. So it's the shape of a spiral, and for me it's like an energy point, like beginning, a starting point. This piece is called Pendant of Memories, and it plays with the idea on how memories somehow get stored in the skin, how the body collects the memories. So when you move around this work, it kind of changes because the background it has, it's like a shell. I have made it wet, so I've built a form, and then I had put the wet intestines on it, so it dried in this way. And I took off this shell, and then I put a background of like a sweatshirt, a vintage sweatshirt. And this vintage sweatshirt, it has like a print on it, like a red print. But this shell of intestines, it kind of distorts the vision of this print. So I'm playing with like this idea of these memories that are kind of, they are there stuck in the body, but they're maybe hidden. They are not completely clear to your mind. Another piece where I use vintage clothes is this one, which is called I've Got My Father's Legs. For me, clothes, they're also like, it's like almost like a photo in an album, like memories get stored there. If I see a specific piece of garment, I can connect it to a time period or maybe a specific person. And I grew up in the countryside, where a lot of people played handball. I played handball. My father played handball. So this is like a remake of my dad's old handball pants. And when I make my works, I usually something comes up that surprises me. Working in this abstract way that I do, it's like I start up a process, and then a lot of things can happen that I don't really know from the start. So here I was surprised about these long, black, thin, shiny, hairy legs that came out of this handball pant. So for me, it was like, it looked a little bit like spider legs or something. So there is this contrast between these long, black, hairy legs, and then this mainstream, sports pants. And for me, it's about, growing up and kind of becoming yourself and, embracing who you are as a person and embracing the power of being a woman. So these 3 years that we have been working together, it has taught me so much, thanks to all the great collaborators in the projects. It has been so awesome to explore together and have the vision and then make it come real. I'm so proud of all of us and what we've made together. And tomorrow is the last chance of watching the exhibition. But we would like to invite people to download the Breathing Membranes booklet. We would like people to join the Godskin movement. If you were, to try to experiment with this wonderful material. You can find it at the Greenland National Museum's website. And here you can also find the replay of this talk. Yes. Are there any questions from here or online? Please ask.
Yeah. That place, with the pig som Kiara or Shakya. It's not the same. You make it in the machine or yeah, I remember.
Yeah, the question is maybe the difference between the seal and the pig intestine. So I mainly worked with the pig intestine because that's very easy to get in Denmark. You just go to the butcher. You can also go to the butcher here and get it in Nuuk at Bruseni. So the difference between the two is the gut skin from the pig is very like paper-like. It gets more whitish, and the seal intestine, it's more like plastic, I would say, like a little bit harder, and it's more yellowish. And I also visited a factory where they prepare the intestines in Denmark. So it's an industrial production, but still they take so much care of every part of the gut. So nothing goes to waste. The muscles that they take away, like Randi explained, that is used for a medicine for the blood. Like blood to make the blood thinner. That's some of the, what can you say, the material that also is used from the gut. And it was fascinating to visit this factory because even though it was such a big production, they still took so much care of the material. And they had their hands on the material like we had together at the workshop. Yeah. Are there any more questions?
Ano sotto sinema tanna apurirauriamu tanna inelua asana minna sotto paro. Apurira kirsona mesuja tilahtu.
Jeg spørger om, hvordan du har syet dem sammen, som du har lavet.
Dem her, de værker, jeg har med her, dem har jeg syet på symaskinen. The works, is it okay in English? The works here, sorry. The works here I've made on the sewing machine. So I use a very thin needle and I do it very, very delicately. So here I have also put cotton cords in it, and it's very fragile. These ones, they're more strong when you dry it in layers over a shape. Yeah. Ja. Så tusind tak for jer, der kom her, og jer, der kigger med ude fra verden. Tænker jeg, at vi vil invitere til at besøge udstillingen sammen.